Hi, I'm Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor of Variety, and welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation Conversation at Home with Jeff Garlin. Today's guest is a comedian and actor who can currently be seen in not one, but two of the funniest shows on TV, as Larry David's put-upon best friend on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and as the patriarch Murray Goldberg on The Goldbergs. Please welcome Jeff Garlin. Thank you for being here.
So exciting that I'm here. The people watching this on probably YouTube are going, how did they get him? How did he get him? And why is he wearing giant headphones? And I'm wearing giant headphones because I couldn't do this on my iPhone or iPad, I was told, where my Apple Pods connect easily. So I have to use a hard wire. And I'm not a Luddite, by the way, but I don't know what I'm doing with this MacBook Air. It's not connecting my Bluetooth. But I'm happy to be here for the foundation of SAG and AFTRA.
They look nice.
Together. It's one thing. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're one thing right now.
No, I know that because I was on the executive board. Ken Howard asked me to run for the board, and I did, and I got elected. And my job was twofold with the make sure that, you know, am I pro SAG-AFTRA, which I was. I wanted us to merge. I was on the executive board when that happened. But also my job, I swear, this is 100% true. Amy Aquino and Ken Howard, well, Ken can't back me. I miss him, you know, that's so stupid. Ken will back me. His ghost is going around telling people. But anyhow, at the meetings, add levity, like be funny where I could. And when the president of SAG says, yeah, go nuts, that's a license. And I did. And I got laughs from most people.
So you were sort of the warm-up act for the SAG meeting.
No, I was warm-up all through the meeting. And like whenever I saw things getting a little bit pretentious or outrageous, I would go up to the mic and do something funny. That's
amazing. I actually would have liked to have gone to those meetings.
They were fun. Yeah, they were fun.
Speaking of SAG, because this is primarily an audience of SAG actors who watch these, I always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card?
How did I get my SAG card? I believe it was on the movie, I may have worked, Jacob's Ladder, I think was the movie which by the way, so I just said about levity with Ken Howard. Jacob's Ladder, I was hired by Adrian Lyne, the director, to improvise and be Jacob's funny friend. Now, they had party scenes, they had all sorts of scenes. I'm a postman, which was what Jacob was. It's a very dark movie. And the director didn't really understand improv because he would say to me, all right, in this scene, Jeff, be witty. As if I could just be witty, not based on anything that's going on. Just walk around and be witty in a 1970s period piece. Wow. Well, if anyone saw the movie, they go, I don't remember Jacob's funny friend. Yes, I was completely cut out. Completely cut out. Yes. But I had a delightful time with Apatha Murkison. Oh. She was in the movie, a small part also, and we had a ball hanging out. I think in Queens we were filming that. I don't remember. I filmed so many movies in Queens. I mean, I live in LA. I'm from Chicago, but I have filmed so many times in Queens.
I love that movie, and I was sitting here racking my brain trying to remember.
No, there is no Jacob's funny friend, and there's no outtakes. No.
That's great direction, by the way. Be witty.
Yeah. Be witty. I didn't know what to do. If we did that on Curb, we'd be dead.
Well, and speaking of which, I just realized that it's been 20 years of Curb Your Enthusiasm. You've
20 years, yes.
For 20 years. Did you ever imagine when this started that people would be so fascinated by the adventures of this terrible man for 20 years?
Well, I don't look at him as terrible. I look at him as a guy trying to get through the day with a bit of dignity, and he relies a lot on his id. He just says it the way, that's why people love it, because he's just saying things that people at home want to hear. Larry is just, he's touched on something over the years. No. How does anyone think? First off, the idea, we've done 10 seasons in 20 years. We're about to do our 11th season. And plus we have the hour special where it all started, which came out in 99. So no, not in, I remember we're filming the special and we're filming a scene where the first scene, and Larry and I already knew, I mean, we were friendly, we were acquaintances, but we knew we had great chemistry. And because when we were auditioning people like Cheryl and all that, we would be in scenes together with them improvising. And Larry and I felt like we'd been a comedy team. I'm the second banana. We'd been a comedy team for years. So when we were filming the very first scene, in between the first scene and the second scene at HBO when they were in Century City, Larry says to me, hey, wouldn't this be fun to do as a TV series? And my outside, I said, yeah. But inside, I'm like, yeah, right. Larry David's next TV series is going to be Curb Your Enthusiasm. Little did I know. Yeah, it's better when I don't think something's going to be. I mean, and by the way, early on, even the first and even the second, well, every season, but early on when we had no fans and really we were a little, what did HBO referred to us? We're HBO's longest running show. HBO referred to us at the beginning as their little experimental show. And they used the word little, they kept us in our place. But what we did, and I believe the key to any success in anything, especially comedy, you have to do what you think is relevant, what you think is funny. So we were making each other laugh. I really dug what we were doing. I didn't have a clue that people would dig it. Had no idea. And we didn't do it to have people dig it. We wanted people to dig it, but we didn't imagine that anyone would think that this off the beaten path way of thinking was going to capture comedy fans. And that's who really loves the show, hardcore, our comedy fans.
You know, I was thinking Jeff Green, your character, has been through a lot in those 10 seasons. But does Larry give you a heads up about plot lines? Like, how did you feel when you saw there would be a storyline where he was mistaken for Harvey Weinstein?
My character?
Yeah, that's funny, but also...
a couple things. One is I'm one of the executive producers. The three of us who really, well, actually, the show I give all, look, Larry David, if you love the show, Larry David. You hate the show, Larry David. Larry David is everything. One of my best friends, my hero, I love him. And also I get to work with a guy named Jeff Schaefer. Jeff Schaefer is directs about half the episodes. And he's also one of the other executive producers. So really, and he holds the show together. So there's a little background on the thing. I know, because being a producer, I read all the outlines ahead of time. But they had a conversation with me of, are you okay with this? Would you be okay with this? And you know what? I thought it was funny. Well, and I still think the episode very funny. But unfortunately, people come up to me and go, Harvey, what are you doing here? I don't find that funny at all, because it was funny in the episode, but we're talking about an evil, vile human being. Really, as low, you can't get worse than that. You know, he's as bad as they come. And the idea that people think it's funny to come up and pretend that I'm Harvey or go, by the way, what I will say is, I don't accept it. I just go, yeah, that's all right. Thank you. You know, I don't know what else to say, but I really, no one has ever mistaken me for Harvey Weinstein in real life. So it's all these people that think it's really funny, and it's not.
Another great storyline, Jeff's client, Clive Owen, turned out to be a very needy, insecure actor. I'm sort of curious, do you write things with, and I say write because I know it's improvised, but do you approach people in advance, or do you write for them and then go to them? We knew Clive had a sense of humor from...
No, Larry writes without I mean, he may have somebody in mind, but he writes without us having casted anybody. And then we approach them after. You know, I remember I approached Ben Stiller. Where were we, at the movies or something? And I said, I'd start talking to him. He's an old friend. And I said, we're looking at this thing. You'd be perfect. And I know Larry would think you're perfect. Would you be interested? He's like, yeah, boom, done, there. You know, so but you know what's great? Sometimes we have a part and I will approach, like I'm not always the guy approaching people, but like Gina Gershon, I approach, like I'd say like maybe out of all our guest stars, maybe a half a dozen I've approached. But what's amazing and what's really delightful, and SAG members pay attention to this, I'll ask them, not only do they want to do it, but are they a good improviser? And do you know some of the most beloved, wonderful actors will say to me, I'm not comfortable doing improv.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I work with George Siegel on the Goldbergs. He likes the script. And if I go off script, he gets very confused. He's older, but he's all there. So, but he gets very, and then even Wendy, who's McClendon Covey, who is brilliant and wonderful. And she likes to know ahead of time. So Goldberg's is a different world in terms of the improv, but I really think one of the things you can do as an actor is know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and don't let ego rule your weaknesses where you go, oh, I'm Curb, yes, I'll do it. Because you want to, when you do something, even if you're a supporting actor, you want to shine in being a supporting actor. Like my job, I look at it whenever I'm acting in things, which 90% of the time is a supporting actor. My job is to make the other actor look good. Hopefully they're thinking the same thing. Not always true. Yeah, I forgot what we were even talking about. Sometimes I just start pontificating. I don't have a clue. Oh, no, it was SAG-AFTRA people recognize your weaknesses, right? So if you can't improvise, don't say yes to Curb because it's at a level that it's not going to be fun for you.
Have there been any sort of big names that surprised you with just how good they were at improvising?
Yes, and also the reverse.
The reverse, I can believe.
We've had to either cut somebody down, way down, or replace them. We don't make a big deal about that, announcing that or anything. And then in terms of how great somebody is, yeah, all the time. I mean, Ted Danson, not a big history in improv. By the way, my favorite actor to work with. I'm going to tell you, one of my three modern favorite actors, I'm telling you anyhow, is Ted Danson, who's my hero, Jeff Bridges, my hero, and also Gary Cole, who does not get recognition. Those three guys are my favorites. And then, you know what I just saw? I saw two movies where I love talking about other people. So it's not that I'm uncomfortable, but me. I saw The Invisible Man, and I'm always skeptical about Universal horror movies, because modern ones, because I love the ones from the 30s and 40s, the black and white ones. So they usually do a terrible job. I watched The Invisible Man. And what's her name was starred in The Invisible Man?
Elizabeth Moss?
Elizabeth Moss. You know what? When I watch her work, forget that I get caught up in it and I was scared. When I start thinking about it, I think to myself, I bet you that woman doesn't even keep her cell phone on set in her chair off. Like, she is so focused and so great. Wow. And then the other movie I saw, which is a great character study, not a lot story-wise, but a great character study, is The Assistant with
Julia Garner.
Julia Garner.
Amazing.
By the way, another person. So by the way, modern actresses, those two. Wow. Wow. When I watch them, and I watch Ozark, and I'm like, wow. Wow. Oh, there you go. I'm spending my time. I know we have a limited amount of time. I want to talk about everybody else.
Oh, I love recommendations.
So if anyone's watching, Invisible Man, The Assistant, Invisible Man, great story. You're just wow. And then The Assistant, her performance, her character, wow. Okay, there you go.
She's fantastic. I've loved her since she did that little movie, Grandma.
Oh, Grandma,
Tomlin.
but she was great on The Americans.
You know, I never watched that.
Well, you say that with such embarrassment.
Because I need to.
Oh, by the way, you don't need to do anything, but I am jealous that you haven't seen it, and you could watch it someday.
It's on the list.
I try not to say should. Could is a delightful word. You could watch it.
I literally just caught up on The Leftovers, so I'm getting through shows from about 4 years ago. So The Americans literally is on my list.
It's wonderful. And what's amazing about The Americans, which a lot of shows screw up, especially drama, is it ended beautifully. Like that's what The Wire ended beautifully. You want to, you've gone this whole, that was the problem with Game of Thrones. You invest all this time, and the last season, they just said, hey, fuck it.
Yeah.
And I know they did say that. It's hard work, don't get me wrong. But you invest in characters that are suddenly evil. Like you spent the whole run of it rooting for characters who suddenly are dead or who suddenly get nothing. It's like, what? What? Which, by the way, a character doesn't have to get something, but there has to be a part of their journey that they either fail miserably and you feel that, or they're successful. The idea that they fail kinda, or they become a supervillain, not good. Yeah.
I'm having flashbacks to about a year ago.
I love movies and television and theater and comedy, obviously. So I'm passionate about it, and so when I can really recommend somebody or something, I get very excited because it doesn't happen very often. Most things are dreck. I'm sorry, SAG-AFTRA, a lot of our fellow actors have to work, and they have to work in crappy TV shows and crappy movies. And then the studio will try and present that like, oh, you want to see this. No, I don't. I catch up with them on these streaming things. I go, all right, I'll watch a few minutes of something they assumed was horrible. I have never been surprised.
It's funny because I was watching your Netflix special, Our Man in Chicago, that I guess came out last November.
Last November, yes.
Yeah, and you talk about how you don't have that fear of being fired.
Oh God, no, that doesn't. By the way, I love collaborating. I love working. There's joy in it. I feel joy, but I don't like. I'm not afraid of the director going, you're not what I want, or I don't like whatever. Bye. See you later. I dare Michael Bay to yell at me on a movie one day. I dare him to. He will no longer have me in his movie. He's the one guy that you always hear yelling at actors. And I'm like, no. Proper respect for a human being. Thank you. Do not yell at me. Now, if I punched you, the term's cold cock, if I hit you and you didn't know and you're like, what the fuck did you do that? And you yell at me, justified. Outside of that, no. Oh, you don't like my performance? You're going to manipulate me? No. I'll go home. I love home. I love my house. I'm in my office right now.
I see. Looks like a nice place. I'd prefer to hang out there than be on set sometimes.
No, I'm sitting at the desk. I don't normally do electric things at the desk, although I have my laptop here. And behind me is my iMac Pro. Look at me. That I do. That I have because I'm a photographer, and I have my photo assistant works on that. This is strictly for writing and SAG-AFTRA Foundation.
Just for us. We appreciate it.
That's what it's for, yeah.
Your comedy special is kind of unique too, because I hear you just generally like to go out and talk and improvise, but in this case, because it was a special, you tried to plot a beginning, middle, and end.
Okay, so when I do stand-up, let's say at the Improv, okay? I have a different song that I randomly pick. Like I think about it on the way there. Randomly think like, oh, I'll use that song. Don't do heavy thinking about it. I walk on stage to that song, and usually it's not a song with a lot of bravado. It's a sweet song, something that I don't try and look cool at all. And then I start talking. I tell the audience what the song is. I talk about my feelings about the song, and that starts an hour of stand-up that I'm making up as I go. Now, when I did Our Man in Chicago, I felt that, all right, I need to have about a half dozen stories for an hour. And then, so I perfected these stories during my stand-up. So I filmed 2 shows at the Park West in Chicago. And the first show did the stories. They were very tight. I kept the little chitter in between. It was a tight, solid set. The second show, because I knew I had it. I felt good after the first show. The second show, I went out. I didn't wing it, but I improvised. I'd say it's 80% improvised. And even when I told stories, I told them differently. And when I was a younger comedian, I've been doing this 38 years, okay? And when I was a younger comedian, HBO, Showtime a little bit, here and there, other places, but there were maybe 15 specials a year. That's it. Right. And then as time moved on with Netflix, Amazon, everything, I'll have people opening for me who I'll say, how you doing? They go, oh, I just filmed my special. And I'll think, I don't say it, I congratulate them, but I'll think to myself, I haven't even filmed my current special that I'm going to do. And you're opening, what the hell world? Although I do pick good openers. Anyhow, so the second show, I knew I had it in the bag, improvised, had a ball. I captured lightning in a bottle. I feel, with the pandemic now, I'm so happy that what I do comedically, stand-up wise, has been captured. And I would give what my goals were, that I was praying that it would be half as good as I feel about it. If people dig it, that's up to them. I can't tell people, oh, it's great, but I'm really happy with it. Ecstatic is actually the word. And the idea that I can't do stand-up now, and truth be told, until there's some sort of a cure for this virus, I'm never doing stand-up again. Until I can look out into a crowded room and I see people's smiles and their laughs and they float. Now, there's always going to be people from now on wearing a mask in different situations, whether it's mental or truly physical, immune system weakness type things. I'll never make fun of those. I don't make fun of people anyhow. I mean, if I do, they feel good about it because I don't like being mean. My crowd work is thoughtful, I guess. But I just feel like I won't make fun of those people. They can wear their mask, but I need the majority of the room to be this. Hey, man, we dig seeing you. We're happy to be here. And we exchange thoughts. And by the way, as a comedian, I truly am only as good as my audience. If I have a crappy audience, I rely on my craft. And my craft gets me through it. They don't know it wasn't a particularly great show. But when an audience is good, it lifts me. It's like when you're acting. When you have a great script and you're opposite people who are doing what I told you, whether they're a lead actor or a supporting actor, if they're trying to make you look good, you're trying to make them look good, and you're serving the scene, God, it's joyful. Same thing with my stand-up. If the audience is great, it raises it and it's joyful. So good material, great material, great actors raise the experience. It's a drag when you do like a TV show or a movie. I remember doing a movie. I'm not saying what movie it was. Anyhow, I told it. I'm trying to how not to give it up. I'm the best friend of the star of the movie. He and I are going through the script, a scene we're about to shoot, and we went to the director and said, as us being best friends, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And the director told us, the studio, which was Sony, the studio paid a lot of money for those lines. Yeah. In other words, do your line. And I remember the director saying to me in another scene, because I improvised, when I say the littlest thing, and I don't even remember what it was, he said, Jeff, this isn't Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I let him know that I knew it wasn't Curb Your Enthusiasm. I said, believe me, I know. And I'm not going to mention that the film was The Bounty Hunter with, I'm not going to mention that, you know, and I'm, I don't care. I don't care. That was my experience. It was not a good experience. It actually ended nice. And the director and I got a groove going later on, but initially, woo!
Well, I'm curious if when people hire you, like it would be weird to hire you and say, don't improvise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, by the way, no, I love Patty Chayefsky. I love great writing. I don't need to improvise. And I think I'm a skilled enough actor. By the way, I always say, I'm only as good as the material I'm given as an actor. Forget improvising. You give me a great script, I'll be great. You give me a shitty script, I'm going to suck. Believe me, I've been on Baywatch. I know, okay? And I'm not a good enough actor to rise above bad material. But you give me great material, I'll be a great actor. That's 100% the truth. But I remember doing a movie called Sleepover. And the director, and Jane Lynch, by the way, we played husband and wife. The director didn't want us improvising. He didn't want us putting a spin on anything. And mind you, Sleepover, not Patty Chayefsky. You know what I mean? So I have respect for the material when, you know, and he didn't want to. And the producer of the movie had to go over to the director and go, let them do it. Steve Carell was in that movie too. And so for me to do any project now, a movie, let's say a movie, I met with a director, I was supposed to now be filming this really cool movie. I have to meet with the director and see what their groove is, if they're collaborative, if they're fun to be around, because I don't want to be told, I don't want to, sometimes you can't help it, but I don't want to be told what to do. It's a line because the director in a movie is the voice. You're telling the writer and the director's story. So you're a storyteller. But still, you want to have a feeling of collaboration and freedom and joy. So those were two circumstances where I did. I'm sorry for outing both.
No,
I didn't say their names, and I said that one ended nicely. So, all right. All right.
No, I think it's important for people to know that, you know, a lot of people think that when you're in a position where you can walk into a movie, everything's easy from there on out.
No, and by the way, I also want to say, you know, there's been, I don't want to say hundreds, but there's been many a copycat of doing Curb, like people wanting to improvise their show. And do you know what I see when I see these? Because I've never seen anyone do it well. Do you know what I see, what they think? This is like the small mind. They swear a lot.
Yeah.
Now on Curb, we're free to swear. I swore once in this interview. I don't like necessarily swearing. I'm not looking to swear. And we swear on Curb when it happens. But you watch the freedom that these other improvised shows, they feel they have, and it's like a ton of swearing. It's like, what are you doing? I'm not a prude. My favorite comedian of all time is Richard Pryor. So I'm not against swearing, and we do swear, and we have dirty subjects, if you will, on Curb, but that's not what it's about. I'm blessed to have Larry David writing scenarios that I get to act out. I mean, come on, man. It doesn't get better than that.
I mean, I think I see that in live improv shows too. You can kind of tell when someone's panicking or doesn't know what to do and they turn to swearing.
Yep, turn to swearing.
Yeah.
See, I was in Second City, seen it for years. No, I have, and it's really sad. You know what, by the way, I was talking to, when I speak at like a college, the last thing I say is, please remember with everything I've said, I don't know anything. Because I want to make it clear that I'm not like, this is what you do. But I do know certain things that I've learned, you can listen or not. Another thing I want to say is, I see this with a lot with pretty actresses. I see it with handsome actors. I see it with ugly actresses and ugly actors, or not as attractive, more charactery. So it happens with everyone, but it's really common in ingenues. And that is when they do comedy, they put a spin on it. They do a little thing with their voice or their body. And it's like, no. I met Neil Simon a couple times. I was talking to him about auditioning actors. And he said, the minute somebody comes in and does his material and puts a spin on it, he knows they're not for him. They're not, because Because in reality, and I hate to say this, you're either funny or you're not. And there's two levels of funny. One is that you're really funny and you just do the lines as written, but the way you do them even makes it funnier, but that's natural. Or, which is most actors, which is just do it as written, you will be funny. Trust that if you're a good actor and you don't put a spin on it, it'll work because the writing is there. When it's bad writing, everyone's dead in the water. Everyone.
There's something very funny about the straight man too. You know, you can make that very funny. I remember Jeffrey Tambor talking about how Jason Bateman on Arrested Development was working harder than anyone, just, you know, trying to keep a straight
face. By the way, it's a very tough job to be the straight man. And by the way, I get to do some funny things on Curb, but a lot of times I send Larry down a path. I'm a lot of exposition. I'm a genius, I guess, at doing exposition. But that's what I'm talking about. When you're acting, when acting is at its highest, and let's assume the script is great, the director is great. I'm talking about filmmaking and television. It's at its highest when both actors really know their material, because if you don't, I'm an improviser, but I'm also an actor. And one of the things that I need to be a strong actor is to know my lines. Got to know your lines. And when both of you know your lines, and it's good lines and everything is set, the DP is great, the lighting's great. If you're both present and trying to make the other person look better by how present and supportive you are, it's amazing and extraordinarily difficult because people don't do that. Jason Bateman, again, great actor and also a great director. The episodes of Ozark that he directs, remarkable. No, I couldn't be a bigger Jason Bateman fan. I'm a fan of a lot of people, and I also can't stand many who I won't mention. But I love Jason Bateman. I love him as a guy. I love his work. Yeah.
He had the greatest all-time reaction to winning an Emmy I think I've ever seen when he won for directing Ozark last year. He was just stunned, like a
because, by the way, Curb Your Enthusiasm has never won a Best Show Emmy, ever. And we're an influential show. We don't need to win, but I don't need to be nominated as a Best Supporting Actor. I'm nominated as a producer on Curb. But the point is, it'd be fun to win. It's fun being nominated, more fun winning. We won a Golden Globe once, very early on. It's more fun to win, but it's an honor to be nominated. But if you're an actor and you need or expect to win or be nominated, or you've got problems. And so this guy with total, by the way, the two strengths of the world are gratefulness, being humble, and being confident. Ego, no room for ego. Throw your ego out. Let somebody tell you you're a shitty actor. Great, thanks, that's your opinion. I just do what I do. But if you're confident in your skills and what you do, and you're grateful to have that opportunity, what's better? So you go into an award show, like if I was nominated for something, I've been nominated for a producer on Curb, and we've never won. You don't sit there and go, Curb Your Enthusiasm, say Curb Your Enthusiasm. or you don't sit there and go, well, it's gonna be us, it's gonna be us. I will tell you, I only had that feeling once where you go. And by the way, I wanna say officially that every year at the Emmys when we've been nominated, I will sit there and tell everybody who's going to win. It's not that difficult, but I have a 100% from Everybody Loves Raymond to Friends.
You're kidding.
To every one of them that's beaten us. Boom, not even beaten us, but got one. Yeah. I knew it. The only time that I thought we're going to win was the Golden Globe that we won. And you know why? Yeah. It was just a personal thing to me. Carol Burnett presented the award for Best Comedy. Carol Burnett, to me, and I'd worked with her on Mad About You, and she taught me so much about being gracious, to see like how to see the audience love her and her understand, not like suck it in like an ego thing, but understand that she means something to them is so beautiful to watch. And in her work too, it's like, wow. And so I learned a lot from her. So when she was the one presenting it, and she's a big, by the way, I want to say the Carol Burnett Show is on the short list with SCTV, Monty Python, Mary Tyler Moore, Sergeant Bilko. I mean, I can name a few. Carol Burnett Show with Harvey Korman and all of them. Tim Conway, who I got to interview once. I was like, wow. I just felt like, I think we're going to win. I've never felt that before or after. We won! Thank you, Carol Burnett. So unless Carol Burnett is presenting at the next Emmys, I don't know if we're going to win or not.
Who knows we'll have
I may have used that up. I may have used my one.
Well, for a good cause, I would say.
Yes.
Before we go, I want to remind everyone at home watching, for information on SAG-AFTRA Foundation's COVID-19 Relief Fund, just look in the comments. And you've actually given us some great recommendations for things to check out. We've got The Assistants, we've got The Americans. Is there anything else that you're sort of watching or reading during this time?
I read a lot. I watch a lot. Every day I watch a different movie, different TV show. I just watched the most recent season of Marcella. I don't know if you're familiar with this, on Netflix. Third season. And I got to tell you, I watched season 1, season 2, and then it takes this turn. And I go, how are they going to do that? Not only did they do that, but it's the best season of Marcella. It's like, wow. So it's on Netflix. It's called Marcella. It is fantastic. Start at season 1. You will not be sorry. And you see a lead character that you've never seen before. And especially the third season, it's like the things she was able to do. Yeah. Wow. And I can't remember her name right now. English actress. She's delightful. Also, by the way, if anyone's watching, I hope people are. Follow me, go to my webpage, jeffgarlin.com, or follow me on Instagram. That's my thing. And if you write me a question about acting or a thought, I love helping people. I feel like in this business, nobody gets anywhere without someone reaching out their hand. So I'm not saying that I'm not worried about building up my Instagram, or I got plenty of people on there. I'm not worried about my webpage. I really am not. But if you want to get a hold of me and you have a question or something about our craft, and I'm talking to SAG-AFTRA members, not that I would exclude other people, but you'll ask me good questions. I don't know how many good questions I'll get from some random person watching this. Do you eat a lot on set? Anyhow, that's a question they might ask. That's what I meant. I saw you didn't laugh, and I'm like, I don't think she understood it. But anyhow, yeah, any SAG-AFTRA people, yeah. So. And
you're going to have probably particularly great insight because you're married to a casting director for years.
I was married to a casting director for years, who, by the way, I love her. I always like saying this in public because married people generally hate each other. I mean, divorced people hate each other. I couldn't love her more. I just, some people can't be married. But I love her, and she gave me the most wonderful boys, my sons, who I love so much. So, yeah, she was a casting director. So between my ex-wife being a casting director, a good one, her name was Marla Garlin. She worked with Allison Jones, did a lot of great stuff. And also being a producer on Curb. So as a matter of fact, on a lot of levels on Curb, that's the area that they rely on me most, is when people audition. And I want to tell you, if any actors ever get the opportunity to sit in a room, do it. You learn a lot. But also, I love being the one that gets up and says hello to everybody. I go out in the hallway and thank everybody for coming. Because I remember what it was like sitting there and then because you walk in the room and suddenly you're improvising with Larry David, it's got to be a little like, what the fuck? So, yeah, I'm always, look, I want to help. That's all. And it's a tough, look, nobody said show business was easy. So if you really have some sincere question about what we do, please, either through my webpage or I think Instagram will be faster, because I do look when people who I don't follow send me stuff. So.
Great. Well, you're about to get flooded.
By the way, please do. I can't say how quick I'll be, but I'll do my best. I always do.
That's amazing. Well, again, congratulations on two incredibly successful seasons, on your special, on everything. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
By the way, you were fantastic today, because no, Jenelle, I ramble. I'm loud. I talk a lot. I'm actually a good person to interview, but you were a delight. Your questions were great, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and what an honor to have been here.